What's going on, guys? So it is a very wet day today. We've had rain like consistently for the last 4 days. Got ducks flying away in the front yard. Had some sandhill cranes back here. Sorry if I've gotten that wrong. I know I've been calling them whooping cranes. I know whooping cranes now are white with black, whereas sandhill cranes are a little smaller and they are more of that sand color, but the birds are definitely plentiful around here. Just walking through the yard here real quick to have a quick conversation with you guys. So hang tight, I'll be right back. All right, sorry if I sound a little bit under the weather. It's because I'm a little bit under the weather. But the point of today's video is one that I get, so many emails about. I'm not gonna lie, I probably get 4 to 5 emails a day about this specific topic. And it's folks who have a 3/4 ton truck and they're looking at getting a 1-ton truck, whether it's a single rear wheel or a dually truck, to haul their future RV, which in most cases is a large 5th wheel. And folks are always going back to my videos and they use those videos to reference whether or not they should get something like that for the RV that they're looking at buying. Basically, what type of truck should they get? And when you go back in my videos, one thing you'll always see me mention whenever I'm reviewing certain RVs is that you need to factor in how much weight's going to transfer to the truck in terms of payload. And then you need to factor in how much stuff's going to be in the truck itself, people, supplies, cargo, and all that stuff. When Will and Jen were out here with Matt's RV review, if you didn't see that video collaboration, you should go back and check it out. We tried to add a bit of comic relief to it, and I think we did a pretty good job. But when they were out here and I was reviewing their Alliance, you got more sandhill cranes coming through on that side, and then more on that side. Beautiful, beautiful birds. I haven't seen any whooping cranes out here yet, so hopefully I'll see some of those. It's supposed to be about a foot taller. Anyways, when they were out here and I was reviewing their Alliance Avenue, at the beginning of that video, he showcased his truck, which was a GMC Denali 3/4 ton truck, a diesel truck. And they're using it to pull their Alliance Avenue, which has a GVWR of about 14,000 pounds. 3,000 of which are cargo capacity pounds. So the dry weight of that trailer is about 11,000 pounds. And, when we looked at the numbers on his truck, which were, I believe, 2,800 pounds, if I'm correct, I can't recall exactly off the top of my head. I said, well, the numbers look like, everything's kind of aligning up. And people are like, oh my God, you said a 3/4 ton truck can haul a 5th wheel. And I did, but this is because I'm talking about his specific setup. Now, when I get emails, I'm not provided the information that I need to give you guys a fair assessment. For instance, somebody will say, we have a 3/4 ton truck and this is what we're looking at getting. Will it work? And then I have to reply back with all these questions asking, well, how much stuff do you load in the truck? How big is your family? How much does your family weigh? Do you carry any toys in the back of your truck? What all do you have with you? What all do you carry in your RV? What type of floor plan is it? A family of 4 loaded up for an RV trip is entirely different in terms of weight than a family of 2 or just a single person. And if you're just 2 people in a vehicle with maybe a dog, you might only have maybe 400 pounds worth of weight in that vehicle. You add 2 more kids plus all the supplies that are in the truck and in the RV to accommodate that larger family, then all of a sudden you're talking about significantly more weight potentially transferring from your RV to the truck, as well as the overall weight of the RV, as well as the weight inside of your truck. So a truck with 2,800 pounds cargo capacity with, let's just say, 2,100 pounds worth of hitch weight being transferred to it, then you have roughly 200 pounds worth of hitch in the back, you're at 2,300 pounds. Well, if you have 2,800 pounds, then you have 500 pounds left for cargo capacity for people and supplies and whatever else is going to be in the truck. So whenever you're asking that question, what's the appropriate truck for the type of RV I have or I'm planning on getting, you have to factor in the incremental weight of everything in the truck, everything that you bring in the RV, the type of floor plan you have in the RV. A rear living room floor plan may not weigh as much in the back of the RV as a rear bunkhouse floor plan. If you have kids and they've loaded up the bunkhouse full of stuff, well, you may actually be decreasing the pin weight going to the truck. However, you could be creating instability. You could be creating an issue that could cause sway down the road or could just cause a very sketchy towing situation. So again, whenever I talk about certain towing situations, especially with half tons, this is the one area that, I guess I need to make this clarification video specifically for. But when you're talking about half ton trucks, Oftentimes, people just think I universally say a half-ton truck can't tow this or that. I give you that 6,000-pound limit. But the reason why I give that is because I'm always referring to a family of 4. If you have, again, just a couple, if it's just you and your spouse and you're in the truck and you're going to be touring the country, if it's just you by yourself, the amount of stuff you bring in your truck, the amount of stuff you have in your RV is generally going to weigh significantly less than someone who has a family of 4 that's going to be traveling. And because I don't know every single person's individual situation, I can't just apply some universal standard to what you need to do, right? I can't just apply some universal standard to the type of truck you need. In my opinion, having an excessive amount of towing capacity, having an excessive amount of payload capacity is a good thing, right? Our specific unit right here has a 17,500 pound GVWR. The truck that I have is capable of towing over 31,000 pounds. But to understand that better, how much larger could we make an RV if this thing's already over 42 feet long and it's 17,500 pounds? How much larger and longer could we make this thing and still be under what my truck's capable of towing? In terms of payload capacity, you know, we're going to transfer dry weight to the truck in the area of about 2,700 pounds. When everything is loaded up and completely full, we're probably transferring nearly 3,500 pounds to the back of the truck. And with that much weight going to the back of my truck, it only leaves me about 1,100 pounds remaining for everything that's going to be inside of the truck, from the hitch to the people to the supplies, all of that stuff. So if I were to take out the people and it's just me driving the truck, like maybe a hotshot driver who's moving one of these, well, all of a sudden I get back, or at least I'm not using up, roughly 400 pounds worth of capacity, plus the stuff that's coming out of the RV. So in dry configuration, the pin weight transferring to the back of the truck, again, let's just say it's 2,500 pounds, roughly. And if it's just me inside the truck and then the hitch, I'll probably add another couple hundred pounds to it, plus the weight of the hitch. Let's just say 400 pounds, right? So at 2,500 plus 400, we're at 2,900 pounds. There are a lot of 3/4 ton and 1 ton trucks that have at least that in terms of payload capacity. But the minute you start loading your RV up, packing the front storage, packing your truck up, getting all the supplies, all the little things that you're going to bring inside the truck with you, the food, the coolers, all of that stuff, the generators, the people inside of the truck, that's where you start to see those extra hundreds of pounds being applied to the suspension of the vehicle, reducing the remaining payload capacity. So whenever you finally hitch up your RV and you transfer that over, you could very well be over what your truck is rated to tow. And a lot of people think that that rating is just this arbitrary number that the manufacturers come up with to apply some type of limit to a truck. And that is not the case. The reality is you have to deal with what's called dynamic weight. That's weight that's constantly changing. That's weight that's constantly moving and flexing. So let's say I have 3,500 pounds resting over the back of my truck. How much weight is actually dynamically shifting to the back of my truck when I hit a big bump, when I hit a big pothole, when I hit something with the truck and that pin weight's just pressing down on the back? It probably spikes upwards of 6,000 pounds, you know, briefly for a short period of time. So when you talk about a truck's capability of carrying more than what it's rated for, they are designed to carry more than what that number actually says. But that's in terms of dynamic weight. That's weight that's going to be shifting around as the RV is moving and as you're towing and as you're going over bumps, as your weight is creating leverage. And it's actually pushing down more because you're going over a certain type of road condition or because you're shifting and moving. And if you're going downhill, just that extra inertia, that force that's being applied to that truck, those are all things that are built into the design of the vehicle, but you have to understand that that weight changes. That weight is not going to be universally the same all the time. And the trucks, even though they are designed to be able to handle those changes, it's not for a consistent period of time. Basically, let's say that the weight changes from 3,500 pounds to 6,000 pounds temporarily when you hit a bump. Does that mean that I can just put 6,000 pounds of weight over the back of my truck and I'm good to go? No, it means that if you do that, you're going to be overstressing something out that wasn't designed to just hold that amount of weight consistently, if that makes sense. So again, whenever you guys are asking for recommendations, you have to provide enough details. And when you're shopping for a vehicle, don't just look at the payload number and say, hey, I have enough payload for the pin weight or the tongue weight of the specific RV I plan on towing. You have to factor in everything that's going to be in the truck, everything you're going to have in the bed of the truck, everything you're going to have in the RV, how that's going to balance out, how much weight is going to transfer to the vehicle. And you also have to weigh the actual components that are designed for towing, such as your hitch. That, you know, if you've increased the pin weight by adding a larger pin box on the back, if you've added components that actually increase weight as well. For instance, if you add airbags to your vehicle, a lot of folks might think, well, that's just unsprung weight. It is unsprung weight. It's resting above the axles and suspension, but it does put additional weight on the axles. So even though you may not be adding more weight to the actual chassis of the vehicle, you are adding more weight to the axles of the vehicle, which also have an axle weight rating limit. So when these vehicles are engineered, they do factor in all sorts of things that you may or may not think they factor in, but you do have to remember much of the weight that is transferred to the vehicle and that the vehicle has to absorb going down the road is that dynamically shifting weight. That weight that occurs whenever you hit those bumps, whenever you go over those expansion joints, whenever you hit those, areas of road that the thing's going to start bouncing up and down a lot, and that weight is going to increase temporarily. So just something to think about, and I hope this is a topic you guys understand. I know that I talk about quite a few things in here that are very technical in nature, but the fact is these are all things you need to research if you're going to want to safely go down the road and make sure that you have the truck that's appropriate for the type of RV that you plan on getting or that you have. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to get back inside because it is freezing cold and wet out here. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.